Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. Looks like a few people are coming in now. That looks great. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming to day 2 of our 80 Essentials series, where we'll be talking about Lightkey, text prediction, spelling and grammar solution. So first off, in a nutshell, what is Lightkey? Well, Lightkey is a text prediction software that's powered by artificial intelligence. And that always sounds a little fancy to me, but essentially what it means is it learns from you, the user. It learns your vocabulary, it learns your jargon, and it even learns your writing style over time. Lightkey also provides real-time spelling and grammar corrections, and that works across 80 plus different languages. Lightkey is completely offline. It doesn't need an internet connection to work. It's also completely private and confidential. We don't collect any user data. We don't collect any user content. It's all private and confidential to yourself. It is downloadable software for Windows computer and works through a Chrome extension. Fantastic. Well, I like to generally start with spelling. And from day one, Lightkey is trained in various methods of spelling, such as a very common dyslexic style, which is phonetic. They can handle multiple spellings and very complex spellings. So an example I like to start with, which is the bureaucracy in Mississippi, and I don't think many people will be able to spell bureaucracy in general. Bureaucracy in Mississippi. As you can see, it wasn't particularly close with my spellings. Now it's giving me my predictions up top. But with Lightkey, you do have to actually engage with it. You have to accept or reject the predictions as you're going along. And there's 3 methods which you set up. Time of setup. I have mine set to tab. But you also have the enter or the right arrow key. I just hit tab to accept those lovely predictions there. Another really cool method it uses is the key location. So Lightkey is very smart, and it knows where all the keys are on the keyboard. So you're someone who maybe has a physical dexterity issue or dyspraxia, for instance. You miss keys all the time. You type quite quickly. It happens to everybody, to be fair. Lightkey will know what you're writing based on the key location. While I write, it went well. As you can see, I just hit adjacent keys, and it's still able to identify what I was writing in that instance. Lightkey is also extremely powerful in the grammar. Very proud of the grammar of Lightkey. So I'm going to write out a sentence. I'm going to show you it can do multiple things simultaneously. If I write Lightkey, don't let its user. Fantastic. So as you can see, it's gone back. It's corrected don't, doesn't. It's corrected the spelling of collect and even finished off data there. I don't know, it's been a little strange a second ago. So if I was to use a traditional spell checker, I would just click on this and it would correct don't, which unfortunately just is not grammatically correct in this instance. So it can do multiple things and correct it that way. Like you can also differentiate between, say, similar words that trip up, say, dyslexic users, such as there and there. So if I write, say, their car, just go back and it will correct it to the correct there. It uses, in a way, the sentence structure to identify these differences and even go back as far in the sentence as necessary to correct these mistakes. So if I write out, I hope the weather holds up for you, as you can see, it'll just go back as far in that sentence as necessary to correct a grammatical mistake. Something I'm sharing as much as I can is Lightkey actually has an inbuilt calculator as well. So if you just do your basic sums within Lightkey, it equals, it will give you the prediction. These can be quite complicated sums as well. So it is an asterisk for times, and it is a / for divide. They will put that. Then we'll hit equals. Now, I'm not very good at maths myself, So I'm trusting Lightkey's got this right, but if anyone's got a calculator on it, wants to pop those sums in, please do feel free to pop that in the chat as well. So this is obviously, if you're in the classroom, you can't be pulling out your phone to use a calculator app in there, or in a secure workplace, for instance. You can't be pulling out a phone. Maybe you can't carry around a clunky calculator, or you get distracted easily when you leave your document every time to use a calculator app. And then you lose track, you lose focus. And that's a big part of what Lightkey does. We try and keep the student or the employee as focused on their work, continuing moving forward as much as possible. So another thing Lightkey offers is text prediction. This is the big thing about Lightkey, and that it learns from you, the user. And a great way to show this is through sentence learning, because I'm going to write a sentence multiple times, and each time it will get a little closer. Lightkey can learn sentences up to 18 words, including punctuation. So each time I write this, it should, in theory, get a little closer to my entire sentence. I'm just going to write it out enough times so that it's going to give me a full sentence, including the punctuation there. So as you can see, I wrote 4 keystrokes there, and it gave me that entire prediction. But for the learning process, you don't have to go and do sentence learning. You don't have to just keep engaging with it. Have a couple shortcuts to help that beginning stages. And that's categories or a specialist subject dictionaries there. So this is my Lightkey dashboard. I will brush over this towards the end, so don't pay too much attention. But if I come to prediction profile, up the top to categories, we have specific categories inbuilt here: technology, industry, business, finance, medical, for instance, and academic. Now we simply just click them, activate as many as you would like, and it's going to learn the vocabulary, it's going to learn the jargon from those special dictionaries. The most recent update has added an automatic element to it as well. So let's say you were a medical student and you were writing medical terminology. It should now automatically activate any relevant medical dictionaries within Lightkey. Same for engineering, finance, and a few other subjects I'm happy to go into a little bit further. You can personalize this a little bit more to your own writing style by uploading perhaps your own custom categories. So you can do this 2 ways. You can click Create Category, simply import a file or import an entire folder if you choose. Or, because we like to remove as many steps as possible and make it as easy for the student as possible, just drag document directly into the interface. Now, as you can see, it took a second. Shows me what I've got. Just one document with 18 sentences and 228 unique words. Give it a name, and I can choose of these 3 options. So learn individual words. That's very self-explanatory. That's just going to learn the vocabulary of that, individual words. Learn full sentences. This is very good to optimize workflow, but also extremely useful for those with physical disabilities. Learn common phrases, and this is what I'm going to select for this one. That's going to learn the repeated phrases, again, the common phrases, but not rip full sentences out of the document. Hit import. And now, as you can see, it's that lighter shade of blue. And I was just going to quickly upload down here in the corner. I have to show you the actual document really quick so you can see the actual terminology. This is a document about Miguel de Montesquieu. He's not going to be within any of our specialist subject dictionaries because that very specific terminology. If I was a student who had difficulty writing, having to write that out as many times as I need to would be extremely difficult. Maybe I'm easily distracted and can't go copy and paste his name. So now that I've uploaded it, Lightkey has the knowledge of his name. So as you can see, I just wrote the first name, started the second part, and it filled in the rest for me. So now every time that I need to write Miguel de Montesquieu, it's going to give me even earlier predictions starting here. It's fantastic. Something else you can do with Lightkey is when we give text predictions, we chose to give a single prediction method. The idea behind this is to help the student keep moving forward, not to give them little micro distractions of having to choose from a list of different suggestions each time they get a prediction. Just to give them the one option. It's not correct. We've included this toggling feature so that you can toggle through multiple options. So if I write TOG, I simply have to hit Control, Shift, and then the up and down arrow there. So let's say Mikhail de Montesquieu isn't the correct one. You just do Control, Shift, and up and down. It also works across 80 different languages. So to do this, it's extremely easy. So again, you open up your Lightkey dashboard. In the same area up the top here is languages. So Lightkey works 8 different languages. That includes Irish, Welsh, and even Scottish Gaelic there as a few options. I currently have mine activated in English and Spanish. Lightkey learns from you, the user. I say it all the time. Philip Morgan does sometimes, but Lightkey will automatically, if you speak a second or third language, change the language if you speak it frequently enough. The same way that it'll activate certain dictionaries in the category section if you write a certain way. I unfortunately don't speak that much Spanish on my work computer here, so you can also come down here and change the keyboard. Now, if I come back to my document, it should all be working in Spanish. There we are. Gracias por venir. We're almost silent before covering. So all the text predictions, all the spelling, all the grammar works across all 80 plus different languages there. We do also have a range of visual impairment features within Lightkey. So Lightkey itself is screen reader enabled, so JAWS, Windows Narrator, and NVIDIA, to name a few. But it's not in my accessibility settings. We have a range of different features. But I will just quickly tell you what these top 2 are because they're important, although not to do with visual impairment. So optimize prediction experience for people with dexterity or physical typing difficulties. That is to provide earlier keystrokes or earlier predictions with fewer keystrokes. It does mean, at least in the beginning phases, it can be less accurate, which is why I encourage you to obviously upload previous documents or choose the categories that are relevant to you to avoid that. And it learns very, very fast, so it won't be relevant for very long. Optimize prediction experience for people with dyslexia or other learning difficulties. Question I get asked a lot is, it learns from you, the user, it learns your vocabulary, it learns your jargon, it learns your writing style, and it learns a mistake. And theoretically, yes, it can. So particularly for those who have dyslexia or other learning difficulties where they make the same mistake repetitively, the same mistake over and over again, miss words out sentences, spell things wrong. This is to increase the threshold before any potential mistakes can be learned. Quite high anyway, it rarely happens, but this is just a precautionary method, just in case. We also have different color themes, make it easier on the user. So there is the default theme, which is quite discreet and in the background. There's also the high contrast theme. Many of you know me, and you know I talk about my dyslexia all the time. This helps me focus on where I'm working as a dyslexic person, but it was actually developed for those with low vision to help them see the work writing a little easier. We also have the orange, blue, and green theme, and these are actually for users with color blindness to help them ease the strain on their eyes and their cognitive effort. And then we have read aloud, and as the name suggests, it is going to read aloud the predictions, it's going to read aloud the corrections. We've set the predictions as male, corrections as female. We found it very important to easily differentiate between a correction being read and a prediction being read, but these are changeable. Voice speed is fully adjustable. We also found those with visual impairment who like to listen to it very, very quickly, so we gave them full control. Then we simply tab that on, and then we just
spaceship went.
start writing. So as I said, it'll just read aloud the predictions. It'll just read aloud the corrections. Very simple, straightforward. Lastly, because as I mentioned, I'm dyslexic and I use my Lightkey all the time. It helps me out tremendously. I'm very lucky that it's a product I get to work with. I'll show you my dashboard. As you can see, I've saved 11.5 hours so far. You can see where I've been using it. You can see sort of how I've been using it and how it's helped me over time. You have the master switches up here. So if you don't want to use text predictions at any point, you can tab that off. Same with the spelling and grammar corrections. And down below here, you actually have the productivity metrics. So great for workplaces if you want to track your KPIs, how you're working, everything like that. But also a student can maybe look at it and see if there's any study routine that they could follow. Maybe they're working more some weeks, maybe they're on a pattern. But yeah, that is a overall refresher. That is the 80 Essentials on Lightkey. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Tomorrow is OrCam. I'm back up on Friday. So if you want to learn about Abby as well, please do check it out. I'm always back at 12:30 in case you have any additional thoughts. But thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.